Yay! I seem to be back. What's up? Is this the size better? Does the screen look better now? Dang! I can't believe it's too late and everybody's gone. Okay. All right. Let's get into the production, shall we? Yeah, sorry, the keyboard's a bit loud because, okay, full disclosure, I don't have a mic stand, so the microphone is currently sitting on its own XLR cable um, on top of like a pillow cover that is just sitting on my desk. So, yeah. Okay. I still have 185 viewers. That is absolutely nuts and also insane. Okay, let's get into the production, guys. Okay, so this is Blinded. It's the first track on the EP. I did my own vocals for it and everything. They're over here. All of these are vocals. So, yeah. I'm not sure what to talk about first. Who did you give the subs to? Let's check it out. I should just keep Streamlabs open because I keep going back to it like it got like a big stupid dummy. You gifted subs to Hans, Patch, IR Zachary, Zortex Senpai, and Diving Tiger. Thank you so much for doing all that, and to yourself. So thank you, thank you. Shout out to Dark Dutch Demon for being an absolute legend. Okay. Oh man. Talk drums first. It's a time honored tradition, is it? I usually just go in like the chronological order of the song. Oh, thank you, Dill, for gifting a sub to Rich. I appreciate that endlessly. I'm gonna just go in the order of the song. So the song starts with this little like noodle on the guitar. Or does it? I can't hear a god. I can't hear a thing. Is that? Oh, it's working for you guys. Why can't I hear it? Hold on. I think I know. No, that's not the case. Why can't I hear it? That's ridiculous. What on earth is going on? Am I on the? I think I'm on the wrong output. Yep, that's the one. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Okay, yeah, I can hear that. And so can you. Okay. So I start out this little noodle on the guitar. It's just me just doing like, you know, my thing. Yeah, just fucking whatever. Oh, I shouldn't swear. This is Twitch.tv. Then I have these two ambience things. One of them is like this reverse guitar sound in Ableton. Sounds pretty cool. The other one's this pad that I made a while ago. That happens in the build-up. Okay, so then we've got down here, we've got just very simple drums that happen. Oh my god, who's that? Monster Music, thank you for the sub. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, so at the start of the song, we have these drums. There we go. Over here. So that's literally all the drums. Thank you, Solazuli, for the sub. Guys, I don't even have like a sub goal or anything. But I appreciate you all so much for subscribing. That means so much to me. I promise I'll be back. I'm back on the streaming grind now. I'll be doing a bunch of them. I have a lot of good projects for the future. Yeah, so drums. They're kind of paired up with this bass in the intro. There's this big like... so this drum is not from the Sad Key pack. It's from this pack that actually Rich showed me. It's called what's it called? Survival... Producer Choice Survival Drum Kit. It's pretty good. There's some good drums in there. I believe this is edited quite a bit compared to the original. Yeah, that's the original. I just made it quite a tighter, I guess. that's paired up with this intro bass that I made, probably an operator. It's just a square wave, some distortion. I mean, in the intro, aside from the vocals and the ambience, that's basically it. Like, you take the vocals off, and it's a very minimal, like, intro. There's so little going on, but then the vocals are in here. So these are my own vocals with lyrics that I wrote myself for the first verse and the chorus, and then for the second verse I actually wrote them with my friend Among the Others when I was in LA this summer. If you don't know Among the Others, you should check him out. He's working on some very cool stuff for the future of his project, so yeah. The vocals are just a bunch of takes, really. They all have auto-tune on them because I'm not a... Oh, fuck, the auto-tune's gone. Oh no, this is really bad. I can't show you the vocals. All the tuning is gone. I can't. Oh no. I don't sing that bad. I think even without the auto-tune it shouldn't be. Your vacant eyes peering into the soft blue light. It's just a bit flat. It's just a little bit flat. I'm gonna turn this off for the rest of the song. But the vocal processing is pretty simple. There's just a bunch of EQs because this is producer culture right here, having this many EQs on a track, especially vocals. There's a de-esser, some EQing, some delay, some reverb. I don't even know what the fuck that does. Don't even remember. Yeah, no, my raw vocals aren't awful. They're just a little bit flat compared to the ones with the tuning on them. These should be okay as well, but I'm very afraid. But you know what? Because you guys are all amazing and you've been subscribing, I'm gonna play this anyway and hope for the best. Okay, that's cool. That sounds great. So I speak up, I scream into the void. I reach for a hand to guide me through the shifting land below. So there's a lot of like space effects on this, but if you take everything off, it's just kind of. I scream into the void. I reach for a hand to guide me through the shifting land below. So, you know, in terms of the number of tracks here, so these two are actually a copy of these two, but I have a formant shifter on this group, which means that they sound like really kind of weird. And then these are like their own. So the reason I do 3 here and 3 here is I do 1 for the middle, 1 for the left, and 1 for the right. Any plans into releasing stems? I don't think so right now, but maybe in the future. But yeah, so I record 3 takes of every vocal, 1 for the right, 1 for the left, and 1 for the center. So you can see there's 1 center, 1 right, 1 left, and it kind of makes it sound bigger. So I speak up, I scream into the void, I reach for... And for this particular instance, I wanted to add a little bit more weight, so I recorded them an octave lower as well, just singing it. So I speak up, I scream into the void. Yeah. They're not awful. These ones, the chorus ones without the tuning, aren't terrible. But yeah, in terms of more production stuff, up here in the intro, all the stuff is kind of like mostly textures. So like these tracks here don't do much. They're just kind of extra. Just extra guitar textures, and up here these two are kind of just like a groove. Oh, I want to... Oh, please stop. That's so flat. Okay. I want to clarify that this is not the mixed version of this song. I actually mixed it in a separate project because this project was giving me such a headache. So yeah. Then, okay, so that covers kind of the intro. As you can see, there's not that much going on here. The sort of verse, the pre-drop isn't much different. Oh, throughout the whole intro, there's this ARP that goes on. Just a little ARP. Then the pre-drop slash verse just has these chords and like a synth. And actually, since I think I changed the tempo, you can actually hear some of the warping on the piano because it was frozen before. So it very slightly just sounds a bit weird, but it works. More ambience, more guitar ambient stuff. Throughout the entire intro, there's this vocal shot that kind of rises. Which actually turns into this. It's the same one that happens in the drop. Except in the drop, it's layered with this thing. Wow, sexually. Wow. When am I doing my next speed beats? So that's actually a topic that I will cover later. But I'm bringing back speed beats just in a slightly different format. But I think you guys are gonna like it. Wow. Sexually. Oh my god. Pit Brawl Zant. Thank you for subscribing. Which piano is it? I believe this is a Contact the Gentleman. Over here you can hear it. You can see it even. So like, yeah, in the intro there's not that much going on. Just like a bunch of ambient layers and some effects stuff that's going on over here. Oh, the effect, by the way, of like this, like, that's a frequency shifter on 50%. So if I turn this up to 100%, it just sounds like this. Right? But because I make it 50% and frequency shifter moves frequencies linearly rather than exponentially like pitch is, it gets really bubbly and weird. I thought that sounded really cool. So, yeah. Okay, let's get on with the first half of the drop, shall we? This big old fella. Whoa, that mix is just terrible, but it's okay. We'll deal with it. Thank you for the cheers. Thank you for the bits. Monster music. All right, so let's get into it. Let's find out why this mix is just as bad as it is. Let's investigate this mix and find out why the hell it's so bad. All right, so here we've got a couple layers. There's a sub bass. That's just a sub bass. Actually, it's an 808 that I sampled, but yeah. Would you say buying the Contact Suite was worth it? So I didn't buy Contact. Anyway. So that's just a sub bass. Then we have this transient kick. Just a kick. And then there's this thing which is kind of like an 808 and a kick at the same time. Yeah. So, yeah. What the heck? What is... Connection is lagging a lot here. Congrats on your entire job. Thanks. It is a great pride to be part of Monstercat. Alright, well, I'm glad you came here. I violated the law. Oh god. Oh god, they're here. It's the FBI. I'm sorry, guys. I buy as many of my plugins as I can, but Contact is not one that I have the funds to sink into. Because the thing is, once you buy Contact, you have to buy all the libraries you use for it, and I don't have like $4,000. So, okay, let's continue with this drop, shall we? So this is kind of the main bulk. It's this and this track over here, which is all the percussion. So yeah, the percussion is it's just percussion. They're all samples from different packs. I didn't do much processing. There's like compression and stuff going on in here, but yeah, that's basically it. Throughout the whole drop, I think that repeats, and there's not a single variation on those four. I'm very happy with this percussion. It's very groovy. And like on top of it, we've got this like sort of sweep. And that's paralleled, I believe, by this weird vocal shot up here. Yeah, so that's kind of weird, but it works. But like seriously, these like 6 tracks essentially are the bulk of what the drop is. That's, you know, that's kind of the thing. There's these 2 basses, which are quite cool, like a little extra. This kind of neuro one. Very happy with that. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm not entirely sure how I made that. It's just the 808. I believe this notch filter does most of the work. You know, distortion, filtering, another filter here. Take these 2 off and it just sounds. That's what it sounds like. You turn this one on, and this one, and there you go. Filtering and distortion, right? That's all you need, baby. There's also this layer on top, which I know, like, I remember making it, but I don't really remember what it sounds like. Yeah. Yeah, so that goes over the top. It's all about, like, kind of layering these details for this track specifically because, you know, it's just kind of. Yeah, and then on top of everything else, we've got these 2 vocal shots. Okay. Oh boy. All right. How many plugins do you tend to use Max? Oh, for Max for Live. I use LFO quite a bit. LFO is the one I use the most by far. And that's basically it. I've been meaning to use more Max for Live stuff, but I use default Ableton stuff. I mean, you can see from most of my synths and stuff. This is Wavetable. This melody is Wavetable as well. Wavetable. We've got, you know, this is a default Ableton pack. I use default Ableton for as much as I can. The only place I'll use, like, for instance, any EQ other than EQ8 is when I use Pro Q2 or now Pro Q3, now that I have that. And I use that on the master, and that's it, just because it's got a linear phase EQ, just nerdy stuff. Yeah. Okay, let's keep on moving, because I've been doing this for half an hour, and we've gone through like a quarter of one track, so I've got 5 to go, and I have to sleep at some point. As you can see, it's 5 a.m. Okay, after this sort of big section with a lot of detail but ultimately the production's pretty minimal, we go into this house section. So this is actually, to be honest, kind of my favorite section in the whole track, just because I like it so much. So over here we've got 2 of my own sort of pluck patches layered with each other for the chords. So they're cool, and I'm happy with that. Then, I mean, it's pretty simple, right? This is the main. It's just a saw wave with a really, like, it's got a pitch envelope. Does it even have a pitch envelope? No, it's just literally just got a filter envelope like this on a bandpass or whatever. Can I zoom in on those chords? Which chords specifically? Here are the chords. Enjoy these notes. There you go. Those are the chords. There's actually a lot of alternate stuff for this song in general. I'll show you guys one of the alternate second bits that I had. Why using the channel EQ sometimes? What do you mean? You mean the EQ in... Oh, this? I guess because it takes up less CPU. I could have done this with the channel EQ, like another channel EQ instead, but I'm so used to using EQ8. For simple EQ stuff, I've been trying to push using the channel EQ over the EQ8, because just CPU, right? Like I used to do all my high passing with EQ8, but recently I've been doing it with auto filter, because it takes up less CPU. So stuff like that. But you know, it's obviously a workflow thing that you need to get into. The transient of the pluck, I think it's just down to the filter. Because I have a... Yeah, I think it's just down to the filter. Because there's nothing else modulating over here. So it's just the filter speed, because it's like going from not very open filter to even more closed filter very quickly. It sort of adds to the transient. So yeah. The other thing on here is this little melody. Pretty simple stuff. You know, it's just like basically a sine wave with distortion, and that's basically all it is. Yeah, it's kind of it's got a nostalgic feel, this melody, for some reason. There's this vocal melody. Okay, so this is something that I talk about as much as I can. As a musician, you're gonna have sessions every now and again where you just kind of make a song for like an hour and a half, and then you just decide that it's terrible, and you close it and you don't save. And believe me, I have sessions like this all the time. The thing that I've started doing differently is that within those sessions, there's always going to be one or two sounds in there that you liked, because that you wouldn't have made them otherwise, right? You wouldn't have started the idea without having at least one sound that you like. So what I've been starting to do is actually rendering out those sections that I like and just putting them in my own sample pack. So for instance, I've got this vocal chop from a song that never finished, but I like the vocal chop, so it's... So that's in there now, and I can use it whenever I want. And this vocal melody was actually the first one of those, and I've used this in so many songs. This vocal melody is everywhere in my music. So this simple melody here is everywhere in my music because I use this vocal melody everywhere. And a lot of these samples I've used so many times. Like even stuff like, I've got like background elements here. From a song that never finished. Stuff as simple as like a polyrhythm. So, I would start doing that if I were you. Um, how did I create the vocal lead? Oh, I got some bits. Thank you, insert user here for the bits. I appreciate it. How many viewers are still here for some reason? 100 viewers. That's incredible. How do I create the vocal lead? I think it was just me singing, obviously, and then I auto-tuned it and then put some room reverb on it, and that's basically it. Just auto-tune and room reverb. Maybe some format shifting using Manipulator or Little Alter Boy. Yeah. Yeah, so that's basically it for this section as well. What's this guy? Oh, this is something that I do as well. I think this was a sample from an Owl City song that I just manipulated the hell out of. Yeah, I have that in there. I manipulated the hell out, like just mangled an Owl City sample and turned it into that. Yeah, that's basically it for this section as well. The rest of the song is kind of a repeat, so I'm not going to do too much of going over again. But if you have any questions, please put them in the chat right now, and I'll answer them. And whether it be about lyric writing or anything else, I'll answer them. Just give me 1 second. I need to use the bathroom so bad. I'll be right back. BRB. What's up? I'm back. Sorry, that was really quick. All right, what are people saying? What did I have for breakfast? Okay. Oh, whoa, Jesus. Okay, what Owl City song? I honestly don't remember. Will you marry me? I'm sorry. I love my girlfriend Sam. She did the art for Talk, so go follow her. She's very, very good and also great. Twitter.com/HiStranger. This is her. This is my girlfriend. She did the artwork for Talk, the EP and the single. She did the illustrations. And she is very talented, and you should follow her. So yeah, do that. Oh God, what have I done? Okay. What did I have for breakfast? I honestly don't remember because it's 5 a.m. and breakfast was almost 24 hours ago. Imagine using the bathroom. I know, right? Cancelled. Dumu's cancelled for using the bathroom. What was the process I went through for the vocals? They sound very Charlie-like, but different from stuff I put out on Dumu. Okay. Okay, so sorry, about intro, talk intro synth and stuff like that, I will talk about that when I go over Talk. I'm going to do every song on this EP in like the order of like they are in the EP. So once we're done with Blinded, I'm going to do Intentions, then Tide, then Talk, and then Feather. Okay, yeah, so about the vocals, if you mean like the vocal processing, it's just tuning over here. Oh, my autotune's still on these guys. So it's actually okay. That's why these sounded good. It's because the autotune's still on. Anyway, in terms of the processing, it's pretty simple. There's just like a bunch of EQing, some de-essing, and then the bulk of the effects is just like a reverb and a delay over here. And that's it. That's all I do. In terms of like the concept for them. Like I don't really know. I just kind of the thing is like I don't really sit down and think I'm gonna make vocals that sound like a Charlie song. I just make vocals, right? I just sit down, I make the song, and I figure out what it's about. In terms of writing the lyrics, like I said in my takeover at Call of the Wild, this was at a time when I was very, very frustrated. Now, granted, I didn't really realize this was what I was writing about when I was writing about it, but in hindsight, I can really like sort of see. This was at a time when I was very frustrated because I wanted to come out here to Singapore, but a lot of it was going like south, and I couldn't figure out how it was going to work. And on top of that, I wasn't happy with my direction with Dumu, and I was kind of like I felt like I was just trying to live up to Forward and Shifted, which to me are two of the best songs that I released, especially in 2018. And for most of 2019, that was still stood as two of my best songs that I released, to me at least. And so I was very frustrated because I kept feeling like I was trying to play catch up to those songs. So that's kind of what the inspiration behind those lyrics were, I guess. In terms of the second verse that I wrote with among the others, we just kind of sat down, I wrote out on a piece of paper just like flow of consciousness. Is that what it's called? Stream of consciousness. Stream of consciousness words and emotions that I associated with the songs, and we came up with metaphors for those and then wrote them in a way that was musical, and that's how those lyrics came about. So there you go. Talk intro since, how do I come up with lyrics in general? I usually tend to write music in general, not only lyrics, but just music about my personal experiences and what I'm currently going through, so be it positive or negative. For instance, on my Charlie alias, I have a song called Blurred that I wrote at a good point in my relationship, and it's a happy song. Just much like when I was going through some bad times, I wrote some sad songs. Or, very on the nose, I'm going to miss my friends, because this was just before I was leaving to Singapore, and I was going to miss my friends, It's just like that. How do I group my samples? Oh, they're grouped by who made them. So these aren't all my samples. This is like my main sample library that's on my internal hard drive. So on my desktop, I've got my music folder, where I've got my projects and my samples here. These are the main ones. I've got more over here, just a lot more over here. But I always group them by who makes them, and then like within who makes them, I have their packs. So for instance, from Mars, I've got their CR78 packs, Found Sounds, Lindrum, and Lin60 from Mars, or Ramzoid, I've got all his different packs like that. That's how I just find it easier to look for who made it rather than. But to be honest, in the last couple of months, I've just been doing Command F and then kick, and then just looking through here to find the kick that I need. So, yeah. Do you sidechain everything the same way, and how do you process your kick so it's not peaking? Okay. I sidechain everything the same way. So in this project, I'm still using a bus system. Since then, I've quote unquote graduated to a group system now that you can do groups within groups on Ableton. So think of these as being a group, like a group header like this, rather than a bus. But essentially, I just send everything to a bus or a group, and I sidechain that group. And if I have something outside of the group or the bus, I send it to another sidechain bus. It's that simple. I just sidechain using the compressor and this little trigger sound up here that's muted. That's it. As for the peaking and stuff like that, so in terms of my mastering, I tend to do soft clipping before doing limiting, and that helps that even though my kick is technically peaking, it gets soft clipped, so it gets distorted. So even though the level is getting clipped off, the distortion kind of indicates to your ear that it's supposed to be loud. So yeah. It's like everything just comes to you. No, it doesn't. But I appreciate that you think that. What's my go-to sample pack for drums? So like I said, recently I just type in the drum that I want in Command F. Oh, whoops. In Command F. So I wouldn't really know. but it's either kicks that I make. I have my own library of kicks that I've made over the years, or stuff like Laxity, or Hans, or Ramzoid, or Sad Key. I like those packs a lot. They've got some very clean drums. So, how heavy is that entire library? I don't know. Let's check it out. So the ones on my desktop are 0 kilobytes. As you can see right here, 0 kilobytes. It doesn't take any space. It's probably broken. I would assume this is about 5 gigabytes maybe, and the one on here is probably another 20 or so. So it's not huge compared to a lot of people, but yeah. Oh my god, thank you Protostar for the hosts. Thanks Proto. Yeah, okay. So that covers Blinded and a couple questions. Let's move on, shall we? Let's go check out Intentions. This one. Don't save. Rank your samples. It shows the ones you use the most. Yeah, that's how I do my sorting. Because then if I want to use a sample that I know I use a lot, I can just go to the top, but then I can reverse that as well and check the ones that I never ever check out. So yeah. Did Stonebank mix it for the final version? No, he didn't. I mixed it for the final version, just in a different project. So if you look on my... Stop that, Ableton. If you look on my desktop in my project for it, there's the mix session over here. So this is where I made the song, and this is the mix session. So yeah. Hannah Lewis, thank you for the host. Okay, this is Intentions. Right up here, I've got the original vocals from the remix that got rejected. I want to put this in like 4 more groups so nobody sees them. The VOD is going to be saved on Twitch. Okay, so this is Intentions. This is actually the last track that I finished on the EP. Like, when did I last edit this? It must have been... Yeah, start of September. So like 13 days before release, this was finished. Yeah. How many tracks? 133 on this one. So not too huge. Probably about average for my tracks these days. That being said, the first the first 20 are buses and the old vocals. So it's more like 110. Okay, let's start, shall we? We've got this intro, which I'm I'm happy with this whole track, to be honest. I'm gonna turn off the vocals for now. We'll go over these in a minute. This is what the intro sounds like, just instrumental. So in here we've got a few things. Up here there's a guitar that I double tracked. That's being sent to my delay thing. Okay, then we have a piano, which is easily my favorite bit in this whole intro. Yeah, and then once again, this synth is back, so similar to the one in Blinded. Yep. A couple of things here, just like layers. What's this? 30 right panned, but feels like you didn't pan it. Is this the guitar? Because there's 2 of them, so one of them's panned left, the other one's panned right, so it's double tracked. Thanks for coming in, Comedia. I appreciate you. Is this what you were talking about with the panning? Anyway, These are just layers. More soundscape layers down here. And this, oh my god, I used the loop, guys. I'm getting canceled. I used the drum loop. Doomu is canceled for using Kashmir Top Loop 07. Honestly, you know, I could have done this myself. I'm just lazy sometimes. And so this was one of those times. So that's basically the intro. It's mostly the piano and the guitars and obviously the vocal. The vocal is easily just my favorite thing. It's so good.
Ooh, my heart's got missing pieces.
Oh, see this ridiculous EQ here? For some reason, Glenna's vocals that she sent me, like, were super high passed, and I had to bring back a bunch of fundamental. Look.
Ooh, my heart's got missing pieces.
I had to bring all that back. I don't know. She must have thrown on a preset and that happened, but yeah. In terms of the processing here, just a de-esser. Over here, I've got an auto-tune just to make sure. She didn't really need it at all, but I just threw it on just to make sure. I've got a gate. Some multi-band compression for the harsh frequencies in the low end, and that's basically it. And then there you go. On here, there's not much. So it's kind of minimal in terms of that stuff.
Ooh, my heart's got missing pieces. It's been knocked down, thrown around for no reason. Ooh, I guess I like the feeling. Until I realized they were all misleading. You say that you want me through and through, but I don't know if I can put my trust in you. Once I...
Yeah, she's amazing. This was all her. What's this? Where did I see? I saw something about a Haas effect dry value. Oh yeah. I have a Haas effect to make it a little wider. I know Protostar in here is going to go crazy over the Haas effect. Shout out my boy. I have it on 20% just 'cause I wanted to add a little bit of wideness, but didn't want to have a full-on Haas effect on just the lead vocal. So I just you know, made it a little bit less wet. Holy shit, it's late. I need to sleep sometime, preferably in the next couple of hours. Yeah. So we covered the intro. It's pretty basic stuff, right? Just kind of a synth. It's just basic layering and some detail stuff. The verse pre-drop build-up thing is pretty simple as well. So there's the vocals, obviously, and in terms of like synths, just the one of the detail layers, and then these three. What's a Haas effect? A Haas effect is when you slightly delay the left and right channels to get some stereo, artificial stereo. Now the reason that you don't want to use it is because when you sum it to mono, then it ends up sounding really weird and phasey sometimes. So it's preferable not to use it if you're making club music. But I think for pop music, it so doesn't matter that, yeah, I do it anyway. So those three layers, there's this little layer as well, which is a render of one of the layers in the drop, which I'll go over in a second. Some more soundscape stuff. There's a Reese sub. So there you go. And yeah, just some typical build-up stuff. Little risers and some, yeah, you know, just the basic stuff. Like I said, this is like a lot of my production is actually quite minimal, just a bunch of layering and little detail stuff. I don't think you should overproduce. I think that's a lesson you learn when you've been producing for a while and you're done showing off, basically. So yeah. Okay, the drop. So there's a couple things going on here. First, there's this melody. So that's a melody that pops up around in the song. It's really simple, but I think it's catchy enough. Okay, here's where most of the stuff happens, is these 5 tracks. So we've got a synth and a Rhodes for the chords. Yeah, there's this little pluck thing. Pretty simple stuff. And these are the 2 ones that, or these 3, I guess, are the ones that add like detail that I think, Ashero, I remember seeing you saying you didn't necessarily like this track too much out of the other ones. I think this might give you a little bit more appreciation for them once you notice them, because they're quite cool. So there's this one, there's just the big like, so they happen like at, yeah, if you turn off the vocals, they're pretty cool. And there's these as well. Which are just little layers in there, right? But my favorite one by far is this one, just because of how wacky it sounds. It's just so fucking weird, man. It's just an FM. I think it's 2 signs, yeah, FMing, and the second one sort of coming in a little slower. And I have a little bit of random pan, which essentially places each MIDI note gets placed somewhere in the stereo field randomly. But at the I get to choose the intensity of that, and it's just so weird, but I love it so much. So like this is where most of the stuff goes on for this. So there you go. I saw something about Lex Luger Pop. I think it's just a choir. I think this was just originally a choir sample that I turned into a lead. Yeah. Oh, the noise for the pluck sound, that's just Ableton's wavetable has a noise unison. I think Massive has this as well. And I just turned it up. So there you go. There's also the 808 and the overtone stuff, which I think is a very like sort of integral part in this track. So those are pretty cool. The 808's just a sample that I processed. 808 Kick 6 that I don't remember what pack it's from, but I use it all the time. I love it. And this overtone bass is just a little like nothing really ridiculous. The drums are also quite cool in this song. So at its core, just the kick and snare, not just a. So those are just they're just how they are. Then we have a JViews percussion loop that I must have done some transient stuff to, just to add a bit of like stereo stuff to it and stuff like that. There's these 2 drum loops, which are my own drum loops that I edited as well. I'm essentially just making as many 16th notes everywhere as I can. And then like this thing is, it's a JViews loop that I put into a slicer. That's gonna fuck up something. Okay, I put into a slicer, and then I put an arpeggiator and essentially drew in a bunch of notes that had sounds that I thought were cool and arpeggiated them 16th notes. And then that with the other two percussion loops, as well as a Kashmir top loop 07, which I've already been canceled for. You get an interesting mix of percussion. So there you go. What's up, Sad Savior? How's it going? Oh my god, a lot of stuff going on. How do you use multiband on the sub? Where is that? Oh, Pro MB? I think I'm just using that, yeah, to make sure that the low end doesn't get super overwhelming with these notes. You can see it's engaging quite a bit. So okay, this might be a little bit of a subtle difference, and it might be just because I spent bloody ages working on this mix. But if you turn this off, that low sub note ends up getting like really overpowering, especially compared to the other notes. Although not so much anymore, because I think I did the same thing on the master. Did I? Maybe not. Anyway. So that just kind of takes it. It kind of just takes it. Oh, sorry, I'm reading the chat and it's 5 a.m. I'm tired. Anyway, so that multiband essentially just prevents the sub from getting too overpowering in the low notes. So that's what I'm using that for. Okay, let's move forward. What are these? I don't remember. Yeah, just guitars. Just guitars on top of everything else. This doesn't really change. These don't change. There's just less vocals. And there's this vocal chop that I added. This was like a last minute addition. It's not great, but it does the job. Does the job. But I mean, to be honest, with this track, most of the weight is carried by the vocals. Without the vocals, this track is not nearly as good. Okay, in the break, we have this cool little progression over here. That's just a sine wave with a bit of unison and a long release. That's all it is. That's put together with this thing. That's a layer in there, just a layer, and then the guitars are up here as well, and these big ambient layers as well. Then we have this little section. Which honestly, I did, I think I did this because I did the, in my Drulu remix, I did a similar thing. There's a similar section in my Drulu remix to this. No, we're not doing that right now. We're not getting sad right now. We're talking about the Talk EP. Where is it? It's up here. Yeah, I think in the break over here, there's a similar section to this. So I like that, and I wanted to do something similar. So that's in there. Nothing too ridiculous here. These two do the chords. One of them, I think this is a kalimba, and this is just like a pluck. And then there's this thing which is doing like a polyrhythm. Then the same lead from the drop, so this lead here comes in, but with a much cuter sound. So there you go. These kalimbas are just from the Kontakt 5 default library. So actually, if you get the Kontakt player, I think you'll be able to just get it. The Foley rhythm sound, I think it's just this, right? It's just a kalimba, or this one's the music box. So is this one and this one, but they're usually just kalimbas and music boxes from the default Kontakt library. But it should be free with the Kontakt player, so maybe check that out first, because the Kontakt player is free. Yeah, there's just an 808 and just claps. Nothing, I don't want to get into the really boring shit. This is the exact same build-up as before. I think just the chords are slightly different, so I'm not going to go over it again. This part of the drop is interesting. All right, so here we've got an 808. Which is, I think, the same 808 as before, but just with more distortion and slightly more crunch. There's a few things going on here. So there's this thing that's going on. And actually, fun fact, this sound here is the lead from You Say. So if you listen to You Say, that's the lead in the drop. So that dun 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 dun, that's this sound, but just an octave higher. So I rendered that out, and essentially here I'm just stretching it with some grains, and it just sounds right, just grainy. There's this thing. These two sounds are just kind of weird. So those are there. Don't ask me why I did these or how I thought them up. I just do these things. They're just. Oh no! You stole from Dumu Song. You're going to lose subscriber. These are just like from a feedback synth. So I have a feedback synth, which is essentially just Ableton feeding audio back into itself, and it just kind of gets kind of crazy. I get a lot of crazy sounds out of it. I have them in my toolbox here, in my samples over here, for instance. So all these wacky sounds, all those wacky sounds are just me playing a tiny into Ableton and then feeding it back into itself and messing with effects on it. So I sampled those and made it like. Yeah, and that's it. That's in there. And that's basically it for this section as well. Then there's the vocal chops that come in and a couple extra things. This little ARP comes in as well. The melody, things come in as it goes on. But the bulk of it is just the drums, the 808, and these like glitches and stuff like that. Yeah, so feedback synth is a synth that does feedback. So I don't know if you know when you're at an event or like at a concert and somebody points the microphone towards the speaker, it just goes like, like if I can do it right now. No, I can't. I'm stupid. My monitoring is off. Anyway, let's ignore that ever happened, and we'll blame it on this fact that it's 6 a.m. and I've been up since 2 technically I've been up since 7 a.m. yesterday, but you know how it goes. Yeah, essentially feedback is just like when audio loops back into itself, so it keeps perpetually getting louder and louder. A feedback synth is essentially utilizing that and putting a limiter on it so that you can get wacky sounds out of it. Cool, so that covers that. This second part of this drop is the same as the first drop, so I don't want to waste any time. And the end is basically just the intro, but calmer. So on top of the piano that we covered before, there's this Labs. Labs is a great alternative to Kontakt if you don't have Kontakt. It's free. Everything on it is free, and they sound amazing. It's by Spitfire, who make the felt piano that I used in a lot of my songs back in the day. So like this is Labs Frozen Strings. Super textured, so it worked perfectly. And then with the piano, on top of everything else here, we had the guitars and these two flute samples that I got from Laxity that I just have like, that's it, they're just there in the background. The values in the reverb plugins, okay, so if I showed you the values in every single reverb plugin, we'd be here for about 24 years. I don't think there's necessarily much to show. I'm going to show you this one because this is the main one that I use whenever I'm modeling reverb. So just take a look at that. It's pretty simple, but I use Valhalla Room on everything because to me it's just the best reverb. My personal favorite. I like Air Reverb a lot as well. I use that here. That's the Pro Tools one. But yeah. Okay, so that was Intentions. So actually, fun fact, the transition into Tide I didn't do until the very, very end. So I have just the actual Tide master here. Like this is okay, right here we've got the entire Tide track, right? This is the whole finished song. But I just sort of took the beginning and faded it in using a filter. So that comes in at the end of the thing. We also have this weird, just sort of yeah, and that's just there. So there you go. That's those Intentions. Let's move on to Tide, shall we? Halfway through. We can do this. We can do this. Wee woo. Wee woo, wee woo. Oh, I see orange down there. I don't like that. What's missing? Tell me what's missing. How do you get the build-ups feelings with the chords, rises, and drums? I guess use a high pass and just use risers and stuff like that, right? It's not much to be said for, yeah. Sound shift or pitch, don't do me like this. Hold on, I'll fix this because I know exactly what it is. Oi. Get on it. Whoop. Is that accurate? Is that what I wanted? Oh. Oh man, this is not... I think the auto-tune on here broke. What key is this in? Okay, we'll just go with G sharp minor. Sorry, that happens. Welcome to Music Producer. where everything breaks. Go with G sharp minor or A flat minor. Stop that. Okay. What? Am I wrong? Hold on, let me figure this out. This isn't right. I'll just turn it off. We'll just turn this bit off. It's just a vocal sample repeating and stuff like that. How did I solve SoundShifter's latency? I just turned it off. I switched the thing off. This project is a mess right now. What is going on with that? Why is that? I am so beyond confused right now, man. Why is it a different pitch? Okay, we're gonna go over Tide real quickly because Tide is acting all sorts of wacky right now. So we're gonna just ignore as much of that as possible. I don't know what's going on with all the pitches and shit like that. Okay, Tide, we've got a chord synth. A bunch of ambience. So for how I made this stuff, no, I'm sorry, Ashero, it's bloody broken. It's all broken. Yeah, I know. This is like this is an Alan Walker moment right here. Losing my mind for 1 hour. Okay, so for this thing, I believe this is just like a vocal that I stretched and did some stuff on. I honestly, at this point, I don't remember. My ambient stuff is just so, it happens so in the moment, and I just so don't focus on how I make anything that it just kind of happens. Anyway, this is basically just a vocal that I stretched the hell out of, put a bunch of reverb and effects and delay effects and space effects on it, and just messed with as much as I could, as long as it was in key. That's what works. We've got 2 cello samples in here that are just stretched to bits as well, and they add like a nice bit of texture. This is essentially this chord synth, but I think I used my Korg Minilogue here, and I holy shit, that's falling. I used my Korg Minilogue and I recorded a synth out of that. Oh, never mind, it's Dext. So I just bounced down a track out of Dext and put some reverb and stuff on it. There you go, and this layer here, that's from a guitar sample that I recorded. It's one of my, sessions that never finish. This sample here. Yeah. Dext, interesting. Yes, indeed. I don't use Dext all that much. It's a very weird synth, but it's got some interesting presets, so I use those every now and again. There you go. So that's basically it. Then we've got these guitar tracks, which are just my own guitar. It's all recorded live. I just did some minor editing. Yeah. And then there's the vocal, which I think is going to be broken as well. Yeah, okay. Vocal's broken. I'm sorry, guys. Tide, we're going to skip over that one. You know what? I might fix Tide on my own time and go over it in a separate live stream as like a side segment. But it's so broken right now, and this was such a wacky project file that I'm gonna fix it on my own time when I've got the patience and the energy, and I'll do a segment on it. I'll make sure to tell Shero when it happens so he can have a look at Tide. Let's move on. Let's swiftly move on to Talk, which has a lot of the most interesting production stuff goes on in Talk. So Talk being the first track that I made that sort of defined what the EP was going to be, there was a lot of experimentation involved. Thanks for Tide. You're welcome, Jake. I hope it was a valuable learning experience that you should always fix your projects. Make sure they're backwards compatible as much as possible. Alright guys, welcome to Talk. This is the project file. It is not necessarily a small one, although it is smaller technically in terms of tracks than Intentions, but here it is. This is Talk. I'm going to mute the vocals for most of this because the vocals and the production were kind of like separate, but at the same time it happened all at the same time. It all happened together, right? So Emmy and I worked on the vocals together, and she helped with some ideas for the song as well, but I feel like I should talk about the production because that's kind of what I know best, especially with this song. The vocals was very much up to her. I just helped a little bit, just like she helped a little bit with the production. Anyway, let's get into it. So it starts out with this thing. Iconic intro by Doomoo.com here. So the percussion comes from a Ramzoid sample pack that I spliced up. And as you can see here, the splice is kind of just... I have another Ramzoid percussion loop here that I just kind of chopped up. That's it. And this is just a kalimba from the default library in Kontakt. And that's it. Then there's a snap, a sweep, and Tied and Twisted comes in, and we're all ready to go. All right. Even instrumental, this is probably my favorite intro I've done, and definitely my favorite intro on the EP. So let's get into it, shall we? Okay, in terms of drums, we still have those two percussion loops. On top of that, we have these sounds, which is a snap, a hi-hat, a shaker, and a little little pop sound. For the intro bass, I used a triangle wave from a synth, like an old MS-10, I think it was. But because it's such an old synth, the triangle wave sounds like a saw wave. So then I processed it a little bit, and you end up with a... just such a nice little sound, that one. See you later, Toby. Then we have some guitars that kind of mirror the kalimba lead, and on top of that we have like melody guitars. So with the bass line, go. Then there are a couple other things. There's these plucks, which I love to bits. Just the same old noise pluck. And on top of that, we have like a regular sort of saw pluck. Under that, we have the old kalimba. Then we have these two sounds. They're just layers. Thank you for the bits. Insert user here. Thank you so much. Okay, more sounds here. So one of them here is just a guitar. I chopped it from a guitar sound from JViews. So if you like unpitch it and everything. Yeah, you've probably heard this in a lo-fi song, but I just stretched that. And then there's this Mern sound. So that's in there. And then there's this lead sound in the background that's actually my voice with some distortion and processing on it. So that actually, I use sounds like this a lot in the whole song. So with all of those layers together, you end up with a nice... So that's pretty cool. Next up, we've got the build-up, which has... Anybody who's been watching my Twitch channel for a little while, so I'm looking at you, Jay, you're gonna know about this. You're gonna know about this. Right down here, if you scroll down to somewhere about here, we've got this guy. Now, anybody who's been watching my Twitch channel for about a year or more, they know exactly what this is just from reading what the track name is. So this is a synth that I made out of seagulls by auto-tuning them, and I did this bloody ages ago. I did this like over a year ago, back when I was streaming a lot more. That's in talk, everybody. We've got a seagull in talk. It's in there. It's in the build-up. It's actually quite clearly in the build-up. Like, even with the vocals, it's quite clearly in there.
Can we skip the messages? I know these texts and calls. It's just a lot of playing pretend. And
so that's... There you go. You got the iconic seagull synth from an old stream ages ago. Made it into talk. This is such an iconic Dumu sound right here. Anyway, we've got Reverb Boys, as you can see from this group name. We've got Reverb Boys here, which is just a bunch of the regular synths and leads and stuff, but with a bunch of reverb. And like, just for the build-up, they're all kind of washed out. Yeah. Can I remake? I honestly can't, because I don't even remember what the original sample for this was, but essentially all I did is I took a sample of a seagull cawing, then I put it in time by warping it, and then I just put auto-tune and distortion on it, and that's it. Everybody gangsta till Dumu adds the seagulls. You know how it be. Yeah, so there's the seagulls in there, there's this Reverb Boys group, and then there's these, which are nice. And actually, I don't think anybody noticed this, but this chord progression is different in the second build. So in the first build, it goes like this. Very subdued. I like this chord progression a lot, by the way. So that's the chord progression in the first build. In the second build, it actually goes from into this. Just a bit more hopeful chord. Yeah. So there's those layered obviously with the Reverb Boys. It sounds quite nice in my opinion. Yeah, and the seagulls. And then you've got just regular old like effects and build-up elements and stuff like that over here that just kind of I want to do more than, and there you go. So let's get into this, shall we? I know this is a big one. This bit and this bit are both big ones. All right. So in here, very driven by the vocals, but even before the vocals were here. Okay, so let's get into it, shall we? All right. So the drums are drums that I actually designed. The snare I designed myself, despite the fact that it was designed after one of Mern's snares. So the drum pattern's actually pretty big in this drop. So we have a kick and the snare, obviously. This little extra snare down here adds a lot of weight to the snare. And then there's these percussion loops, which these are mine, right? Yeah. Yes? No? Maybe so? Hold on. Oh, yeah. Oh my god, these are percussion loops from my old sample packs from like fucking 2015. Yeah, these are my... Yeah, so those are in there. They're my percussion loops from ages ago. We have a couple extra bits of percussion here. And then a little... just in there, because why not? So that's, I mean, there you go. There's the drums. It's nothing too impressive. The bass is in 4 parts. So... Okay, first we have the sub. Which is an 808 with a bit of overdrive, just, you know, how it'd be. Then we have the main. So this is actually the noise, mostly. This is actually the main bass here. And originally I had like I think a more open filter on it. And it sounded good, but not exactly how I wanted it, so I ended up just separating the high end from the low end in this bass. So we have a separate layer giving it that... By the way, the source for it, I believe, is just... yeah, the same... It's actually the same source as the intro bass. It's the same source sound. Triangle A0, yeah, same source sound, just different processing. And there. Why did I remove the sub? Yeah, more control. That's exactly it. Originally, I had it in the same patch, but I was having trouble like taming it, so I just separated it for more control. And then we have like a, you know, classic trap brass. And all of those together gets you that big old, that big fucking chonk, big chonk bass. Where can I get these samples? Is this, oh, my old sample packs? I can send you the packs, or it seems like Fan found them as well, so you could ask him. Okay, on top of this, there's these 2 sounds from the intro are still there, the little extra layer. But on top, there's another vocal lead of me just kind of singing. that's formant shifted down as well as distorted in Little Altar Boy. And that's basically it. So the first half of the drop is just drums, that bass, and these sounds, and this chop that's coming in. Second half of the drop is a bit more producer showing off E, but so, okay, first we've got these come back in. So they come back in but distorted, kind of like I did in Shifted. We have another vocal lead here, oops, but I turned it on and off. So originally I had this running through the entire thing, but it sounded a bit messy when I did, so I just kind of cut off bits of it. Which I think is just the same lead as before, as the one in the intro, but more intensely sung. So there you go. There's this vocal chop here. So that was processed through an auto-tune for these sounds, but not for these samples, because I wanted to have that glide. Then Little Altar Boy gives it that sort of airy distortion. I think this is just an amplifier there's one that's an amplifier, like one of these changes has the amp on it, and the other one doesn't. I'm not unfreezing because I don't want to lose anything potentially. And then just reverb and delay and OTT because I'm a music producer. And so those are the chops. Vocal chops are kind of hard to explain, like how to do well, because most of the times I don't do it well, so don't ask me. Then we have all the synth stuff. So the main, like, quote-unquote synth in this section is this chord synth. It's just a regular saw pluck. Actually, this is kind of funny. You can see here around here, this MIDI clip around here is actually, before I had this section in the drop, I actually just drew, sometimes what I do is I'll just plan out the drop in one MIDI clip. So this was the one MIDI clip. I just had it in Operator, and I didn't have any of these chords. It was just... So it was just like this. So for the longest time, the second half of the talk drop just sounded like this, with no drums, no anything. This was just like what I had it planned out as. So for the longest time, you would have this drop, and then it would go into... like that's it. That's all it would go into. But so I planned that. Sometimes I do that. I just have one MIDI clip where I plan it and everything. The synthesizer process is pretty simple. It's just a saw wave with a filter opening up and a pitch bend. That's it. And the automation for the filter opening is over here. So there you go. Then we have this sound here. So these two are just kind of complementing each other. And these basically can't exist on their own because they sound awful. So you have to have this sub underneath it. And then this like bass, like bah. Oh wait, that's not it. It's this one. So there you go. And then you add like the pluck sub and the pluck itself. And the entire second half of the drop is based off of this. The drum beat doesn't change at all. It's just that new production bit with vocal chops and the extra stuff. Then we have this little section here. So this is actually my favorite vocal chop in the entire song. And fun fact, this was taken out of her demo, I believe. Just the demo vocals that she sent. So this is, and the demo vocals that she sent are actually in this song a few times as well. So this is what the demo vocals sounded like. Let me unfreeze.
Staring at the edge of your shirt, wondered who will make the move first, making me forget I've been hurt.
This is the first thing she sent me about this song.
Staring at the edge of your shirt, wondered who will make the move.
Is that me? That's me. Yeah, she's not flat. She doesn't go flat like that. That's me automating it for the auto-tune so that it doesn't go stupid.
Staring at the edge of your shirt, wondered who will make the move first, making me forget I've been hurt.
So that's actually in the song, just like hidden with a bunch of processing as like a backing vocal.
Staring at the edge of your shirt, wondering who will make the move first, making me forget I've been hurt. I've never been so bold or reckless. Now we're running out of our words, overturning tables we've.
Crazy how you can go from a phone recording like that to like a full-fledged.
Staring at the edge of your shirt, wondering who.
I think it's pretty crazy. I think it's pretty cool as well. But so that vocal chop was made using that. I keep cutting off right when the vocals are about to start. Here, let me solve that. Let me solve those blue balls for you.
Staring at the edge of your shirt, wondering who will make the move first, making me forget I've been hurt.
There you go. I'll go over the vocal processing at the end once I'm done going over the production, which I think is actually now, because the second drop is the same with a little bit of variation, but that's just basic space effects. And this whole second section is basically the same production, just different sort of content, mostly lyrically. So there you go. Okay, how do you get your vocals to sound so good minus the auto-tune plus reverb? I think so vocals are very, very, very dependent on who you're working with. Because if you can get a vocalist who is able to have her vocals or their vocals recorded well, that makes all the difference. Yeah, how many people are still in here? 70 viewers. That's crazy. That's crazy. The Haas effect. The Haas effect. Haas. And I don't know what you're talking about there, but yeah. So, yeah, a big part of getting vocals that sound good is having a good, clean recording, essentially. I've worked with a lot of vocalists who have sent me very dirty recordings, and you end up with you have to do a lot more work in order to get the vocals to sound good. But because these were recorded so professionally and so well, it was a pleasure to process them because there wasn't that much going on. So there's the auto-tune, obviously, a bit of EQing, but that's kind of to be expected anyway. There's a Pro De-esser. Vocal Space Effects is my own rack that I built. I actually had to do it again. I didn't realize it was in here. And then it's usually just on the vocal here, I've got a bit of compression, and a bit of multi-band compression as well. But as long as your vocals are recorded well, then it's mostly down to how you process them in terms of space effects and compression and de-essing and auto-tune and stuff like that. There's no replacement for a good vocalist and a good recording. You can't polish a turd. But Emio is definitely just an absolute pleasure to work with because her vocals are recorded so professionally. Because she's an incredible engineer in her own right as well. So yeah.
Staring at the edge of your shirt, wondering who will make the move first, making me forget I've been hurt. I've never been so bold or reckless.
I can't take much credit for these vocals because just because she did so much good work, and I don't want to take credit for too much of this. I'm happy with what I did in terms of the production. In terms of the vocals, she's just the GOAT. Yeah, GOAT. GOAT. When do you decide to turn your MIDI into audio? I don't know. Usually when I want to resample stuff, I mean, you look at here, a lot of the MIDI instruments are still as MIDI, right? My bass is still MIDI. A lot of my chords are still MIDI. The only time I won't use MIDI anymore on like a chord synth or whatever is if I'm recording it from outboard gear, or if I want to, day is rising, everybody. What was I saying? If I want to process them, like if I want to stretch them or whatever, that's when I'll take the MIDI out. Otherwise, I tend to leave it in MIDI. But yeah, the thing where the left and right channels are separated, did I do that for the vocals? I did that for the harmonies. So that's on here quite strongly at 70%. Everything else is naturally widened by reverb or by Emiya doing multiple takes. So there you go. All right, we're going to move on now to Feather, but before we do that, I would like to thank you for coming, obviously, and if anybody has any more questions regarding talk, please ask them now, and if not, we'll move on to Feather. The vocal processing on the cool part at the start of the second drop. Okay, so just the vocal processing or all the processing here?
More than stop. I don't really wanna play it cool.
Okay, so here there's a lot of stuff going on, but actually not really. So what I did here is, what I have going on here, sorry, I was trying to figure it out myself, I don't entirely remember. So there's a bunch of like room reverb going on, so just reverb that's quite, it's very wet, but the room size is very small, so you get like a very room sound. And then what I'm doing in terms of automation is I'm actually automating the formant of the vocal. So with that's what gives it that sort of weird, like, cool sound. That's what gives it the most of the cool sound, that and the reverb. In terms of the instruments and everything, actually I think it's on the master that I have everything going on. Or not. I just have like a bunch of filters and reverbs sort of engaging all at once. Like I could show you every automated lane. There you go. So we have the reverb turning on. That starts here and ends over here. There's the reverb mix, so that's the dry wet that goes like that. I'm not sure why the bass. Oh, okay. Yeah, I moved this bass into the instruments group so I wouldn't have to do this automation on the drums group as well. And then the frequency of the filter over here. So that's it. And there's a similar thing on the drums essentially. So if we do this, it's basically the same thing. So on this one, I'm using a bandpass, and there you go. Okay, hold on, guys. Give me a second. Okay, how long did it take to finish talk? I think I made the whole thing probably I started in March and it must have been finished in sometime in June or July. Most of that was waiting for Emiya to get back with final recordings though, so the actual track production was done within 2 weeks, I would say, and the vocal writing and everything was done fairly quickly as well. Minus mixing and mastering, what do you normally have in mind when you're doing my mix and master? What? Isn't that that's an oxymoron. What do I keep in mind? Okay, well, I try to make it so that I have as little muddy frequencies as possible. Where most of the muddy frequencies are between 100 and 200 hertz, and then again between 300 and 600 hertz, and then again around 1K, and then again around 3K, and again around 6K. Those frequency ranges are good to know because there's a lot of muddy frequencies around there. So I tend to like audition each one on the master using Pro Q. And as you can see, I've dipped around a lot of them. So over here I've got a dip around 86 because I thought there was too much of this muddy frequency. I dipped around 500 because there's too much of there. Didn't dip too much around 1000, but I dipped at 4K and 8K, which is kind of the same as 3 and 6K. So there you go. That's for the mixing. For the mastering, I always do the same thing. I use a glue compressor to boost the volume, and then I have Pro L2 afterwards that makes a tiny extra volume boost, but mostly is here for true peak limiting and LUFS metering. So there you go. That's how I do my mixing and mastering. What else do we have here? What is that dropping ARP? Which dropping ARP?
More than stuff. I don't really wanna play it.
I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about. Are you referring to this? If so, this is a sample from an old Max instrument that I recorded while I was in school in the UK, and it's just like... Yeah, we were just messing with weird synths. I mean, look at that DC offset right here. We were messing with cool synths, and I was... Yeah, so that's that. Before starting the drop...
I wanna do more than
Oh, this thing. This thing. This is just a sample from JViews, and I'm using the beats and transients mode just to get it really wacky and weird. Like by default, it sounds like this. No, it's this one. So that's what it sounds like normally, and I just made it kind of weird. Yeah, nothing really too big. It's kind of in the background there. Yeah, that's talk, everybody. Let's move on to Feather. Finish off this thing, and then I can go to sleep. For those of you wondering, by the way, it's currently almost 6. It's currently almost 7 a.m. I've been up since yesterday, around this time. I went to class yesterday. Then went to a dinner with my managers, then came home, slept between roughly 10:30 and 2:30 a.m. At 2:30 a.m. I wanted to sleep more because I was like, podcast doesn't start for another hour and a half, so I've got time. When I tried to get back to sleep, I was already too awake, so I just decided to say fuck it and get on my computer. So since about 2:30 a.m. I've been at my computer, doing this stream as well as doing the podcast stuff. So there you go. Let's move on now to Feather, and we'll be doing that one. I'll show you guys a couple of extra things, like maybe some little Easter eggs that you wouldn't get from the EP, and yeah. Just gonna turn up my AC. Because we out here, Southeast Asia gang. What time? How hot is it right now? I'm talking in Celsius because I'm not a heathen. It's 26 degrees. And it feels like 29, apparently. Okay, here's Feather. Feather is a much smaller project, as you can see, with only 60 tracks. It's a pretty simple one. And honestly, like I said in the podcast, I wasn't originally going to release this. Okay, Eli, blah, blah, The Grind, Face Scratch. You know how it be. Dummy hot. Yeah, it's pretty hot. Welcome to Singapore. And where am I? In Singapore. I moved here about a month and a half ago. Actually 2 months ago now. Um, yeah, so I originally wasn't gonna release Feather. I just made it because I make a lot of music like this, like sort of house stuff. Let me see if I can pull up another one maybe to show you. But I wasn't gonna release this, but since it was basically one of the last tracks I made while I was in the UK, that plus the fact that I make music like this all the time and never put it out, and it's kind of my roots and everything, I felt like I should put it out, so I did. Here, this is another house type song that like this kind of house type song that I've made. It's quite cool. Yeah. Isn't Mern from Singapore as well? I'm not from Singapore, but I live in Singapore, and Mern is indeed from Singapore, and Mern also happens to have the same managers that I do. And so Mern and I are actually quite good friends. Anyway, let's get into Feather, shall we? So Feather starts out with these... So this is actually what inspired the title, is Holding a Feather. This is an ambient, analog ambient performance video that I sampled in here as like an ambience. So if you're interested, the name of the artist who made this ambient piece that I sampled is called Light Bath. I also recommend, if you like this type of stuff, Jogging House. Light Bath and Jogging House are both really good ambient modular synth guys. So if you want to put something on in the background to relax or to fall asleep, I recommend those guys. Anyway, so there's that ambience thing that goes on in the background. We've also got my chords over here, which is, now that you've been watching the stream for a while, you'll recognize as a pretty familiar patch. Screams for a collab. Huh. Mern collab? I don't think so. Moving on. Yeah. So essentially how I get the kind of analog sound is by using the random modulator in here. So I'm using the random to change the pitch by 0.2 randomly per note. So it's detuning every note ever so slightly, kind of like an analog synth would, because the oscillators aren't necessarily stable. So there you go. So there's this patch, there's this little ARP that I made in Omnisphere. This is one of the later editions. I think it adds a lot to the song, so I'm happy to have it in there. In terms of effects and stuff, we just have, you know, it's mostly reverb and delay as usual for me. So there's these chords, there's that ARP, there's this sound that kind of grows throughout the whole track. So it starts out completely gone, then there's this. That has the random on the pitch as well, so it gives it a bit of movement. By the end of the track, it's fully open, like. But it just kind of, literally it opens throughout the whole song. You can see the frequency goes up throughout the whole song. So there you go, that's in there. A lot of the main sound actually comes from this. Actually, sorry, that's a different one, but that's also one of the main sounds. This is layered with the chords. What I did is I essentially rendered these chords out on a Rhodes. So these chords, you know what, I'll just pull it out. What I did is I put those chords on a Rhodes plugin. Don't do that. So there was those, and then I chopped them up into like I used a similar technique in my Slumberjack remix in the intro. So if you listen in the intro in the background, it's there too.
How can I be so lonely? Even when we're lower.
So that's in there, and we also used this in Couch Dreams with Andy Stereo Cube. Whenever that was. Oh, I think he took it down off SoundCloud. But yeah, we used a similar thing in Couch Dreams. Hey, Havela, welcome back. Welcome back? I remember you coming to my streams back in the day. Anyway, Couch Dreams, we used a similar thing here. The main melody comes from this here. So this is actually from a Laxity sample that I just chopped the hell out of. So this is what the original sample sounds like. So that's the original sample, and I chopped it up so fucking much that it ended up sounding like this. Layered with the bass. So there you go. That's basically the main instrumentation. These other plucks up here are just kind of extra layers. Pretty simple stuff in terms of like layering. The more interesting stuff comes down here. So we've got all the drums. So there's a lot of hi-hats, as you can see, and a lot of loops sort of layered together to make this big house shuffle. And even more over here. So that all layers together. If you want to know each individual thing, we have a kick here, this clap loop, this little hi-hat loop that I chopped, that fits in like, this is a ride. These three loops together sound like this. These hats together sound like this. All these hats together sound like this. And then there's this 909 core kit. Have the authentic, and then you add these three together, you've already got a substantial amount of hats. And then you get the extra shit, and you have a big old drum loop full of shuffly hi-hats. Hey, where's all my hats? There they go. So there you go. Then the bass lines, so one of them is just just a sub bass. No, this is my typical like Reese sub bass, so this is the same one that I use in all of my songs. And it's layered with this saw bass, which is just a saw with a filter. So there you go. That's pretty simple. Then there's these vocal chops, which most people wouldn't know they're vocal chops because they sound like a synth, but they are vocal chops. The auto-tune's broken again. Okay, what key is this in? Let's figure this out. B minor, right? Yeah, B minor. Okay, here we go. That's in B minor. Okay, so as you can see, this vocal chop has a little bit of processing on it, just a tad. If I take everything off, so then we have the auto-tune. This pitches it up. This adds reverb. This adds compression. More EQ. This adds distortion, and this adds the high end delay. OTT, because I'm a producer, and final EQ. This is B minor more than it is D major though. It's both because they're relative keys, but it's I hear that I hear B as being more of a tonal center than D, but they're both pretty prominent. Anyway, music theory, guys. There you go. There's those vocal chops. There's this lead, which is very loud and harsh. I'm sorry. That leads there, and that all leads into this final section where we've got a bit of just like chill, just final like. So we have my typical Dumu Rhodes, which are paired with these. Okay, so these two, we have the chords and the melody. That's layered with another Labs Frozen Strings. In the second half, it's layered with a Prophet V3, which is an emulation of the Prophet synth. Who the hell makes the Prophet? It's 7 a.m. I'm too tired for this. The Prophet. So you have those. There's the calm version of the ARP under here the whole time. And then there's my favorite thing in the whole song, which is this little lead. And that fades out. So with all of that, you end up with a nice little ambient section. Obviously there's these here, and there's the chops, but low passed. Also fucking broken. I'm gonna please Ishiro here and just make it D major. There you go. So now one of them is B minor, the other one's D major. And there you go. Then it fades out, and you have the EP. So, 2 hours after we started, we've finished going over how I made the Talk EP. We've had some hiccups along the way. We had a P break that was highly controversial. We had a couple cancellations over using loops and over not buying Contact. So all in all, we can safely say that my career is over. I'm gonna show you guys a couple extra bonus things, just because you've been here so long. I'm gonna show you an alternate second drop or alternate second section for talk that I had. Sorry, for not for talk, for blinded. So a little fun fact: Blinded is in Rocket League right now. It's the front track in Rocket League. When you open the game, it's the first thing you hear. That means that because of dev cycles and stuff like that, they had to include the game in an update that they rolled out back. They had to include the song, sorry, in an update that they rolled out back in July, but they just hid the song in the game and made it publicly available on the day of release. This means that when I finished Blinded, I actually, when I was told that I had to like a week to finish Blinded, I only had half of one song. So I had a very tight deadline for it. And I'm never going to lie about this, but Blinded is probably my least favorite song on the EP. I feel like it kind of ruins it, but that's neither here nor there. I know a lot of people like it. Anyway, this was an alternate second half of Blinded after the house drop. So interesting to hear, I guess. So that was an alternate version of the second half of Talk. Of fucking Blinded. Jesus Christ. Of Blinded. Blinded VIP mix. I highly doubt it because I hate the track so much I don't want to ever work on it again. I will maybe use this progression again though. Yeah. Can I feedback? I would, but honestly, I really don't want to. I've been streaming for 2 hours and it's 7 in the morning. I just want to sleep once I'm done with this. I apologize, but I'm only human. I need rest. I have class later today. So, yeah. I saw some other things earlier questions earlier that I didn't answer. I saw, how do you find inspiration to keep making music? I don't know. I just kind of do it. I like making music so much that I get inspiration in places like my shower or my bed or the bus or fucking everywhere. I think of melodies and I record them on my phone. That feeling when you had an idea in class and you finally get to record it outside, Bathtub Galaxy. Anyway, I just make music. In terms of being a perfectionist, I don't think that's a good thing. I used to be a perfectionist, and I've learned to stop caring so much. Which I guess it's kind of, I guess it's a little antithetic a little oxymoronic. I don't fucking know the word, but it's a little hypocritical that I say that after I've just said that I hate Blinded because I had to rush it. But I try not to care about these things so much. If I really hated Blinded that much and was a perfectionist about it, I would have not agreed to have Rocket League put it in their game. But because I don't care that, I force myself not to care that much because at the end of the day, I know while I hate Blinded for the production quality or whatever, I feel like it's subpar for me. Nobody else hears that, and everybody seems to enjoy the track. So clearly, yeah. So there you go. I left DBS Bristol, where I study now. I study at a university in Singapore called LaSalle, which is an art university. I do music there. How do you get over this hurdle of being inspired and not motivated? I'm the kind of person who, if I'm not feeling like making music, I'm just not going to make music. I tend to work very fast, so I can finish songs really, really quickly. which is a good thing because then it gives me a lot of time to be able to be like, I don't feel like making music today. That being said, the last month and a half I've been very, very overworked because on top of this EP, I've had a lot of stuff to do with behind the scenes for Dumu as well as production stuff for other artists and stuff like that. So some days I'm just not motivated, and those days I have to force myself not to make music or not work. Obviously, sometimes if it's a little more time sensitive, I have to do it, and that's just kind of how it is. You got to think of it as like a job. When it gets to the point where it's you have to do it, you have to think about it as a duty and as a job. So, if you produce so quickly, what is usually your workflow when working on a song? I don't know. It varies with every song. Usually I'll have an idea that I'm usually either ripping off from somebody and then twisting it into my own way or doing a remix. I tend to start with chords and like melody stuff before I do drums or anything, because I feel like drums are easily adjustable later on. So I think, yeah. I saw some other questions. What about the song Intentions was going to be a remix for? I don't want to say. So it was accidentally, I noticed during the stream that it was accidentally shown in the stream. I'm not going to say because I'm afraid that people are going to go and be like, why did you reject Dumu remix? I respect their decision. Her team really liked it, but she just wasn't feeling it, and that's totally fine by me. So, yeah, and in the end, it got me a track that I'm very, very proud of as an original, so I'm happy about that. So, yeah. Any recommended books for theory? No, I have never read a book on theory because I am lucky enough to have a musical ear, so I can tell when things are in and out of key, and stuff like that. So, there. How do I like my eggs? I like them scrambled. I also like them sunny side up, I guess. Follow-up question. Oh, yeah, well, I already answered this one. Theory goes crazy. It can be daunting. It will increase your threshold for sure. To know theory. Like, for instance, this year in school, we're doing a theory class, and it's proving to be very useful for me. But I think it's good to take it very small steps at a time, especially if you're not coming from a background of music theory. Because if I had done solfège, is it called that in English as well? If I'd done theory stuff since I was a kid, then it kind of comes naturally. But since I didn't, it's a little daunting. There's a lot of terms that are weird and a lot of very specific things. But if you take it small step at a time, you're going to end up with a good overall knowledge. Favorite stock audio effect? I love the audio effects in Ableton so much. Erosion's a very good one. I want to say like EQ8 or auto filter, but those are just filters and EQs. I think probably overdrive, to be honest. I feel like it's the most versatile distortion one. So there you go. Solfège in English as well? Okay. Yeah, what about stickers and merch? I'm not going to say too much about that. We're working on it. Actually, not even working on it. It's soon. Soon, stickers and merch, very soon. There you go. Favorite audio effect rack I've made. So I recently got a new computer when I moved out to Singapore. I upgraded from my 2016 MacBook Pro to just the latest model, the 2019. And when I was in the process of migrating all my files over, I forgot to include my Ableton folder, so all my racks were gone. So now the only audio effect rack that I have is my Space Effects rack. Oh, actually, I have a couple presets in other plugins, but it's just my Space Effects rack, which is just a reverb and delay with knobs set up for them. I use that all the time. So there you go. There's another thing that I wanted to show you guys from the EP. I'll show you this, then I'll show you one unreleased song, and then we'll finish it off. Not unreleased finished song, just an unreleased, like a whip that I started. Did you know that AWOL Talk There For You uses cover art of the girl in the music video? Did I? Does it? I'll have a look. More so general question, do you have any hints or a taste of what 2020 Dumu is going to sound/look like, since you were talking about the management dinner? Yeah. Do you think that you are handsome? No, I don't think I'm handsome. I'm an ugly. I'm ugly. Ugly as hell, man. Alright, so regarding intentions, tide, and talk, they're kind of like a continuous thing. I didn't make them, as you clearly saw, I didn't make them in the same project. I have this track transitions project that this is the one between tide and talk. So I have the full tide. Tide actually went on, yeah, there's just like that, there's just tide in here. And this is actually the render of tide that came out. So the render that came out of my project went into here, and this is the render that I came out on the EP. And essentially what I did is I brought talk in afterwards, so we have talk here as a full song, and I brought in a couple elements from talk and essentially brought them in. And that's just how I did it. So you have, this is the kalimba that's coming in with a filter, just very slowly. Oh, and as you can see down here, the tempo of the song is automating up from 80, which is tied to 97, which is talk. So there's that. Then there's this little voice riser, which cuts off when talk comes in, right? But here it doesn't. And then there's this noise. And on talk specifically, there's actually this audio rack here. So fun fact, if you put a bunch of auto pans together on random at like a certain speed, either fastest or just quite fast, and then you turn them way up, it ends up sounding like super glitchy like that. So that's how I did that sound. So there you go. Whoa. Oh yeah, I'll talk about this in a second. Talk about that in a second. Ugliest people make the best music. Thank you so much. My music must be perfect. Yeah. I don't understand why I'm not a better producer if ugly people make the best music. In your opinion, what are the best audio headphones for production? I currently used to have Audio-Technica M50Xs for the longest time. But over the last year, I've been using Beyerdynamics DT990 Pros. Really dumb name. Beyerdynamics DT990 Pro. And they're amazing. I love them. They're open back, so they're not like sound canceling or anything. So don't use them if you're going to produce outside, because not only does the noise from outside go in, but the noise from inside goes out. I love the 990s to death as well. Yeah, they're amazing. They're incredible. They're incredible headphones. I've just ordered an 80 ohm version of them so that I can take them out rather than having to use my interface to drive them, because the 250 ohm is a little harsh. Like, it's very quiet. So there you go. I got another question. Anything flat and comfortable should work. Okay. Following up on question, do you use headphones or speakers mainly for mixing? So for like, this is a tough one to answer. When I was in the UK, I used to switch 50-50, like literally 50-50. I would switch every hour or so, just be like, okay, let's take off the headphones and try in the speakers, because my room in the UK was not, it wasn't treated, but because it was all carpet and it was quite small, and there was a bed and my clothes and carpet, it was very dead. Now in Singapore, I live in an apartment where the floor is made of like tile, and the walls and the room is a really weird shape, and the walls are very reflective, and as a result, the sound I get out of my speakers in here right now, because I don't have any soundproofing, is really, really bad. So it used to be 50-50. Now it's mostly headphones when it comes to mixing, but I still use my speakers for idea generation and stuff like that quite a bit. That being said, you get used to your room just like you get used to headphones pretty quickly. So I can do a decent mix on my speakers in this room, but to be honest, even back in the UK, when it comes to final mixing, I always do it in headphones, just because I've been a headphone guy for as long as I can remember. So there you go. Girls love my beard in South Korea. I love who said in Korea, then South Korea. It's like, damn, are you watching from North Korea? That'd be crazy. Anyway, Tell girls that I appreciate it. What headphones and speakers? So headphones, like I said, Beyer Dynamics DT990 Pro. I'll write it out. Beyer Dynamics DT990 Pro for headphones, and for my speakers, I use Yamaha HS7s. I don't like the HS8s. They feel like they've got too much bass. The HS7s are just the perfect middle ground. Favorite sample pack? Don't really have one. My own samples, I guess. Did I enjoy Firefest or Mindgala more? I'd have to say Mindgala, because for Firefest I was in the UK and it was like 1 to 5 a.m. when I was during Firefest, whereas Mindgala it was 11 in the morning and I was with Sam in real life, my girlfriend, Vita Coco, with who we did the B2B. I was with her in real life. We had just like done a little road trip to get back to her house. So probably Mindgala for the experience. My main synth I love to use is Wavetable. I use Wavetable basically for everything. Just the Ableton Wavetable synthesizer. There you go. Doing a sample pack when? Hopefully soon. We actually talked about this in the management dinner yesterday, doing a splice pack. So, yeah. Let me open this track that I want to show you guys just quickly before I go, and then I'll be going. Keep asking questions if you want. Can I ask what major source of income? What is my major source of income? Music. It's Spotify at the moment. I wish it wasn't, because it means that I'm still broke as hell. But it's Spotify. I'm working on getting more revenue sort of streams right now. So be it production behind the scenes or doing production stuff for films and stuff like that. That's something I'm always working on. But for the time being, with where I'm at, also playing shows, I'm going to start playing shows a lot more in 2020. But yeah, for the time being, it's mostly Spotify. For 2020, let me show you. Oh, that was a host. Thank you, Flashhound, for the hosts. For 2020, my aesthetic's going to switch a little bit. The boys, Corey and Jemmy, the boys. So I'm going to start doing visually stuff. This is for Dill. I don't even know if Dill's still here, but visually stuff that's a little more boutique, or sorry, not boutique, but like streetwear kind of. So stuff like this is visually what I'm going to be doing a lot of. In terms of music, I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't want to make any promises, but we're thinking of doing some strategic, making a little bit more in a banger direction for the start of 2020. So at the start of 2020, I'm going to put out a bunch of singles. They're going to be a bit heavier than my usual stuff. But the plan is that by the end of 2020, I've got another body of work, like an EP, and that's going to be more like the stuff that I released with this EP. So for the start of the year, we're doing more strategic stuff, right? Man's got to make some money, and but I love making bangers as well. So there you go. Can I read the Russian letters on my keyboard? I don't have that laptop anymore. What's the other thing? The lads, indeed. Dumu bangers. Yeah. Okay, so with that, I'm going to play this, which is a whip that I started just a while ago. I'm going to turn on the vocals. They're just like you guys know this because there's absolutely no way in hell you don't know this vocal sample. Yeah, the Virtual Riot Never Let Me Go. So that's on there just for context, but here's just a whip. I don't know if I'm ever going to release this or finish this, but I'm going to play this, then say thank you and goodbye, and then I'm going to go to sleep.
We're still the same, you say, and I can hear your voice.
voice. It's no good answering if this is not your choice. It's not your choice. You said never let me go. You said never let me go. You said never let me go. You said never let me go.
Right. So, with that, thank you so much for coming to the stream. It was a long 2.5 hours, but I hope you guys learned some stuff. I hope you guys were happy to find out about how the Talk EP was made. If you haven't heard the Talk EP, I don't even know what you're doing here, but go listen to it. All right, I'm just going to leave this up for the rest of the stream. Thanks so much for coming. I will be streaming more often. Now that this has happened, I've been waiting for this to happen so that I could start streaming more often. But I'm going to start streaming more often, be it production stuff, feedback. I guess I can talk about this now. I'm bringing back Speed Beats in a slightly different format. In that I'm going to be recording Speed Beats live on Twitch. And that you guys in the chat are going to be the ones giving me the rules, as well as the people on Instagram. So it's going to be a mix of both. I'm going to use your suggestions as well as the ones I get on Instagram, put them in a randomizer, and do that whole process on stream. And on top of that, with every Speedbeat stream that happens, I'm going to download it, the VOD, and edit it down for YouTube, so there's also a YouTube version. Oh my god, how alive. Thank you so much for all the tier 1 sub donations and gifts. I appreciate you endlessly. But yeah, so Speed Beats, I'm going to be doing them twice a month. No, sorry. Once a month. Once a month for now. We'll see if I'm able to do it once a month and not get burnt out, then I'll do it twice a month. We'll see about that. But once a month on Twitch, there's going to be I'm going to plan it. I'm going to schedule it in for the same time every month so that everybody can know when it is. So I will be doing Speed Beats live and then editing down for YouTube once a month. In terms of the other stuff on live stream that I'm going to do production stuff. So that could be just me working on a song, me working on an idea. I'm also going to be doing feedback. I'm going to try to set that up again, although that's a bit of a pain, but I'll try to do it because I know a lot of people liked it. And I will be doing games. I see, as Shero said about Minecraft Let's Play with Richard, I do intend on doing Minecraft streams because Minecraft is basically the only video game that I play on a regular basis. And thank you, Wooshi, for this tier 1 sub. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Look, how many subs is that in just this stream? 23! Good God, guys. You guys are incredible. Thank you so much. But yeah, I will be doing Minecraft streams and potentially other games, maybe Rocket League, maybe some Switch games. I have an Elgato, so maybe some Switch games as well. Play RLcraft? No, I've seen RLcraft. I don't want to play it. That doesn't look fun to me. Anyway, yeah, so a lot more coming up on this. I'm also going to be doing some stuff on YouTube, but we'll see about that once I get to it. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming. Oh, in terms of the gaming streams, I'll also be editing those down and putting the highlights up on my YouTube channel, so you should check out the YouTube as well. So yeah, guys, that was the most YouTube thing. So yeah, guys, that was the most YouTube thing I've ever said in my life. I'm so sorry. So twitch.tv/Doomoo, youtube.com/c/Doomoo, subscribe and follow and everything. Thanks for coming. I hope you're excited for the future of Doomu as much as I am. It's going to be a good end of the year. It's going to be a good 2020. Shows are coming up. Merch is coming up. More streams, more everything. It's going to be great. Hit that notification bell to be the first to get updates on new videos. Make sure to subscribe, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I'll see you guys around. Be sure to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. I'll see you guys around. Oh no, wrong button.